to continue, go ahead and click the like button and we'll do a part 3 as we have tons of questions. We get questions every single day. Sometimes they're duplicates, but we definitely enjoy getting the questions from our community. So these questions have come from all over our social media platforms, and we compiled them into the top 15, and we're going to be talking about them today. So if you have some questions you want us to answer, we'll add it to the mix, and we'll probably continue the recap for 2023. And if one of your questions has been answered, go ahead and do a heart emoji or a smiley face emoji just so that we know the questions are getting covered. And the first 5 questions that we did, it was more about the getting started process. And I think these questions that we'll be talking about next are a little bit more in depth. So, taxes. This is always a great question, and we have a two-parter here, and it's around what's the difference between 1099 and a W-2. So, one of the main differences is that 1099 is not an employee, but it is an independent contractor. And it's an independent contractor where they create their own schedule, they come with their own materials, and decide the type of work that they're going to do. On the other hand, your W-2, and these are summaries, guys, is an employee and is working for a specific company. So they're an employee of your company. And their work is directed. They typically don't work independently in the same way that independent contractors do. And they have a level of supervision as far as how to do things and how to go about doing them. So I hope that answers some of the questions around the differences. And let's jump into the second part of this question is in terms of taxes, what's the difference between 1099 and W-2? So this could be a little bit tricky, but some of the main differences that we've seen when it comes to 1099 and W-2s as far as like taxes is concerned is that traditionally 1099s don't have taxes taken out. They're responsible for paying their own taxes. And they invoice their hours or they invoice their work if it's a project work. And then they receive all of the monies for that particular project and are responsible for covering and filing any of the taxes with regards to that particular project assignment that they're on. Many people say that it saves time, it can save money, but the misconceptions that I think people have about 1099s is that they don't have to file taxes. That's absolutely not true. So if I'm a company and I work with 1099 people, I file taxes on my 1099 people, and that's how they are responsible for filing taxes. So I send them a form. I think it could be a couple of different names for the form. It's not a W-2, so it's not a W-2. But they get a form. I want to say it's a 1099K, and that shows the wages that they received and then any taxes or any amounts that were taken out. The difference is a W-2, they do pay taxes, through the regular running of payroll. The company that they work for also pays taxes, so there's an employee, right? And there's an employer side as far as paying taxes. And then at the end of the year, they receive a W-2 tax form, um, outlining, taxes paid, any, Medicare, Social Security, any 401k or things like that. And as far as their payment, commissions, bonuses, stuff like that. So that's the main difference. And I always have to tell you guys this, I'm not a tax professional, so I'm just giving generic answers. But these are definitely things that you can Google yourself. And I would encourage people to check out the irs.gov website because that's the best resource to get information about this type of stuff. I also would connect with a tax professional if you're still kind of on the fence as far as understanding, because things aren't as in layman's terms as we perceive them. So definitely make sure that you have a clear understanding. And if we have some time this month, we'll actually probably do some Q&As around tax questions. So So you're already here, you're already listening. You might as well go ahead and follow us. Go ahead and click that follow button here and subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out some of our amazing videos that we're putting up. Like I mentioned in the first video, it's officially 2024, and here at the No Super, we are going strong all year long. So go ahead and check us out on your favorite social media. We're on all the platforms, but since you're here on YouTube, go ahead and start here and get some information, and feel free to engage, ask some questions, share some videos, like some of the videos, and get some of your information that you need to be successful in your business in 2024. And we're moving right along to, okay, this question. So as I mentioned, the 1099 questions have been coming in for like 7 years, so we're really jumping in there. To become my own first employee, do I just make myself a 1099 contractor? It depends. Um, and that's really the best answer. And here I put most states, nurses are not considered 1099s. You can set up yourself as a hired employee, which means you're paying taxes. You're being taxed on your wages based on your billable hours that you're billing the facility. So it just depends. That's something I would have a conversation with my accountant on if I was you. A lot of people have taken the notion when I say, hey, you don't have any employees, you can work your business. Of course you can. As long as you have experience in that area, yeah, you can work your business. But it doesn't mean you working your business means that you're a 1099. So I would definitely make sure that you come up with a plan around that, get with a tax professional accountant type so that they can give more direction as to how it works in your respective states. Where do you all order background checks? And we recommend Universal Background, but there are a lot of other companies out there. And if you click here, you'll be sent over to our partners directory. So I would check them out. And you want to get with a company that can provide you with the types of backgrounds that you need, taking into consideration that there are a few states out there where you can't really have like a third party do the background. For instance, in Delaware, you have to go, there is no third party. You have to go to a specific state agency and get your background and drug screening taken care of. So that's not something that can be outsourced. So make sure you do your research to find out whether or not your state allows the outsourcing of background screenings. I know that New Mexico, you could outsource it. Delaware, it was an in-house, it was a state agency that did it. And then in a couple of other places, it just depends. It just really depends on that particular agency as to whether or not you could use a third party company to um, do those types of things. So just check it out. Check out our partners page and definitely shop around. So shop around to find out the company that works best for you and go from there. The next question, is it normal for some larger companies to have a vendor agreement contract? Yes. So some of your larger companies, and I think in this question they're asking about vendor management systems, MSPs, but it can vary as far as like the type of agreement that they have. And typically in the VMS space, you will sign an agreement that they provide you. And that'll include a rate sheet, that'll include do's and don'ts, locations, you know, um, names of facilities, as well as types and positions that they staff for. So that's pretty common when you're working with vendor management systems. Next question, what can I do if the hospital or clinic breaches their contract? So this can be a little bit tricky because it really depends on what was breached. So when we talk about putting together like your plan and your business plan, you really want to factor in things like situations like this, you know, access to legal counsel, access to accounting and tax professionals, just so that it allows you to be able to get these types of situations corrected. In this question, I'm going to kind of guess through a little bit of some of the scenarios we've seen as far as the breach piece, like which part of breaching this person might be referring to, and give a little bit of my take on stuff like that. So if you're talking about breach as far as like a payment type of breach of contract, there should be a process in place, one within your contract, and then another process internally around, hey, once your invoice is X number of days past due, you have to pay the invoice plus these late fees. Once you're no once the invoice is in collections, then this is the process. It could be after 45 days, we're no longer sending staff. You would have to reach out to our attorney or our representative to negotiate any sort of payment. So, and from a non-payment standpoint of view, I would do that. But from a position of, oh, I work with the hospital, now they want my employee to work with the hospital, but maybe they haven't paid the fee that I have in my contract around that process. So with that being said, that's different. As I mentioned in a couple of videos before, some states are eliminating the ability to create non-competes or to create where the agency can be compensated for an employee leaving and going to the facility that maybe they're working through the agency with. So some of that is changing. So assuming that that's the case where they didn't pay or they acquired your staff member without first communicating with you, that can be tricky because you really want to think about what the long-term impact could be around moving towards legal steps in that situation. So ideally, you have an employee, they work with you, the facility says, oh, we love Shamika, we want to bring her on board, can we keep her? You agree to it, they pay the money, and then that becomes, you guys agree to a date, and then that becomes the exchange. Unfortunately, sometimes it's not like that. And in those situations, I encourage people to really communicate with your staff as far as explain to them the process, because as agency owners, you have to understand that there's always going to be instances where staff members would want to go on board with the client that you're working with. And being upfront and honest with your staff members about, hey, we understand it, we get it, this is the process, is way more beneficial than not saying anything and then kind of feeling like you were backhanded because you found out about it after the fact. Any sort of legal situation, you have to weigh the pros and cons, because when you're dealing with legal breaches of contracts and stuff like that, you have to deal with time, you have to deal with money. You may not get everything back, you may not be made whole. And then the other piece around the legal stuff, or specifically breaches of contract, you have to have proper documentation. So if something happened and you have no documentation of what was going on, you really hurt yourself when you're trying to get that situation settled. So I encourage people to really try and think about it, get advice on, what your options are, make sure that you understand how the scenario may play out in a positive or negative way for you as a small agency owner, and then finally make the decision that you feel is best. So, and I think we're wrapping it up. And like I mentioned before, I think we'll probably do a part 3. And if you have some questions you want us to answer in our frequently asked questions for 2023, feel free to drop them below in the comments. But as we conclude this journey through some of the most frequently asked questions of 2023, the NOSA group, we hope that we've demystified some of your questions around talent acquisition, contracts, 1099s, and the process of getting started. Whether you're a company looking for the perfect hire, or seeking individual clients for your business, we are here to redefine your experience in the staffing arena. So we want to thank you for joining us in this exploration that may continue into some of the frequently asked questions. And we just ask, hey, check out our website, like this video, and subscribe to our channel.